Okay, Jeff Santoro, it's official. We just got word this morning that the Federal Trade Commission and I believe it's 17 U.S. state attorneys general have filed suit against Amazon, accusing it of unfair and anti-competitive behaviors in recent years. And we need to talk about what are the implications? What does it mean? What should investors do? And have that conversation. You ready to take a closer look at what's going on with this?
Let's do it. Let's dive in.
I'm Jason Hall. This is The Smattering. And the Motley Fool sponsors our videos. So if you're looking for even more great stock ideas than what we're going to talk about in this video, please check out our special link. Go to fool.com/The Smattering. Motley Fool is going to give you its 10 best stocks to buy right now. Be sure to check that out. What's the short version? What exactly is being alleged in the suit?
So the suit alleges that Amazon has engaged in anti-competitive practices on the e-commerce part of the business, right? The store that we all go to buy things. Essentially saying that they are prioritizing their own products and deprioritizing competitors' products. One example that I read in an article was if you're looking for something and it's the Amazon version of it, you might get the buy now button prominently displayed. And if it's a competitor's product, you might not. It might be some other slightly more complicated way to get that into your shopping cart. So that's just one example, but essentially it alleges a bunch of little things like that, prioritizing listings, making it difficult for third-party competitors to sell their goods on Amazon and giving
Especially at an
Amazon.
even playing field to Amazon's own products.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So that's what it alleges in a nutshell. And you can find any article online that will give a little bit more detail, but that's basically what this is about.
Yeah, and part of it too, Amazon is, I think, the third largest digital advertiser in the US now, which you think about that, that's incredible. And if you go on the Amazon app or the Amazon website and you search for a product, basically the entire page is filled with advertised products before you actually get to the ranking for non-advertised products. And part of the suit also alleges that not only if you put your products on there, that's fine. You get on the Amazon store, right? Or you put your products on and use they're fulfilled by Amazon. So you're paying a share of your profits if you do that. But unless you're paying to advertise your products on Amazon, it's not even going to be the first 3 to 5 to maybe even more products that a shopper is even going to see. So again, they're also alleging that that is an additional anti-competitive behavior that creates an unfair, unlevel playing field as well. Okay, so Jeff, let's talk a little bit about some of the potential implications. What are the risks that investors need to think about for Amazon? What does this potentially mean? Maybe from the worst case scenario to maybe something that's a little bit more likely.
So I think the worst case scenario, anytime the FTC gets involved in an antitrust case, there's always a possibility that in some way the company gets broken up in some manner. Like I think the biggest antitrust case in our lifetimes is probably with Microsoft back in the 90s because they were bundling Internet Explorer with Windows operating system, and that was something that the FTC put an end to. So I think something like that I think would be the most drastic outcome. But I think investors should keep an eye on this because one of the reasons Amazon has been such a good investment is because it has built such an advantage. And if that advantage has been built on what is deemed to be anti-competitive practices and they are compelled to stop in some way via fines or some level of scrutiny by the government moving forward, that could have an impact on profits and margins and those types of things. And for a business that's kind of trying to right size itself after all of the craziness with the pandemic, and they're still just now cracking back into operating profitability on that side of the business, if this prevents them from continuing that positive path, that could be something that could make it an even longer time before investors start to see their investments start to pay off.
I want to take a second to break down how this flywheel of all of the various parts of the business work for Amazon and how this could definitely be a detriment if the company was forced to separate different entities. So you think about the fulfillment network, the distribution centers, the warehousing, the trucks, all of that kind of stuff. Amazon built these things for their own use, right? So the products they buy and put on the shelves and then distribute. But one of the things they realized is they had spare capacity and they could do fulfillment for other sellers, right? So those sellers became really good profit centers because they pay a rate to have space on the shelf, and then they pay Amazon to actually do the distribution, to do the last mile fulfillment of the goods, right? So it's really created incremental profit. And then again, stacking the advertising on top of that has been a way to monetize just something as simple as somebody searching for a product, right? So that's on top of it. And then you think about AWS, right? This is the largest cloud services provider in the world. And they built it initially. They built all of these cloud services. This was what they were using for their own e-commerce, for their website, for their streaming, all of the things that they were building. And again, realized, hey, we built some really, really great tools here. More companies are looking to move out of data centers on site and start moving to the cloud. And they started selling AWS on top of it. So it creates great operating leverage, right? So you start peeling these things apart, Jeff, as separate entities, and you start to lose some of those benefits of scale that are there. And I will say this too, I think it's important. Even if we did see a situation, I think it's highly doubtful, but if we did see a situation where the courts ruled that Amazon did have to start splitting out parts of its business, as a shareholder of an Amazon stock, if the businesses start getting split up, you're still the owner of the businesses. They're just no longer a single entity, right? So you would still end up owning the same businesses just as different pieces. And historically, we've seen when that sort of thing has happened in the past, sometimes it's been a net benefit because sometimes it makes it easier for the market to fully value those separate pieces when they're not part of something that has a very different profit or a different growth profile. So even like
Yeah,
the worst case isn't necessarily going to be a terrible thing for investors.
that's true. There's a lot of people I know who would love to see AWS spun out as its own company, and they'd be lining up to buy shares of that. I think that the last thing I want to say about this I think is worth considering is the reason Amazon, just speaking as a consumer, the reason I go to Amazon is typically they have everything I need at the lowest or close to lowest price I can find online, and I can get it in no more than 2 days, sometimes one day, sometimes the same day. That is all predicated on all those different parts of the business that you just mentioned, helping each other, working together. If they start getting broken apart, or even if they are compelled via fines or some other method to end some of these alleged anti-competitive practices, that opens the door up big time for companies like Walmart, Target, any other business that has built out their 2-day shipping, 1-day shipping distribution network to start stealing share, because those advantages you have with Amazon in terms of shipping time and price may no longer be there.
Yeah, I want to say too that I think that looking even further out, that there's potential, depending on how this rules, that it could actually still be a net positive for Amazon. Obviously, a favorable ruling would be a clear positive that it removes this risk. But even if there were some push to kind of drive some of the anti-competitive, I'm not going to deny it here. I believe that Amazon has been an exceptionally anti-competitive company for years. I believe that deep in my bones. I am a loyal Amazon customer. Yet I believe that is probably the case. Whether it passes the test of breaking the law, that's another issue. And whether it can win this suit is another issue entirely. So the point is, I think even if Amazon is forced to make changes in the way that it does business, that could be a net benefit, because if it did increase competition, has proven that it's great for the consumer and it's great for the competitive marketplace, because it forces companies to be healthier and to be more agile. And a company forcing Amazon to be more agile, I think would be a net thing for Amazon shareholders. I think that's really important. Okay, we got another couple of minutes here, Jeff. I think the last thing we can do is talk about what should shareholders think about doing right now, or maybe somebody that's interested in owning Amazon that does own Amazon. What do you think investors should be doing right now in this moment? The stock's not down much, down a little bit, a few percentage points from when word came out that this suit was going to happen. But if you go back to really, it was February that we first started seeing, February, March, we started seeing reporting that the FTC was preparing a suit. So this was news, the rumors have been out there for forever. We're just now seeing the news. What do you think people should do?
So I think if you firmly believe, as you do, Jason, that Amazon has been anti-competitive, and maybe you believe that the government will win this suit, and you're not comfortable with that, or you no longer want that stress or have to think about it, I could understand why people would want to exit a position in the company just to get it out of their minds. If you don't fall into that boat, I think my personal opinion is there's really nothing to do right now other than keep an eye on this news, because this will be a long time in the courts, and you'll get a lot of news reports. This will be heavily reported, so it's not like you're going to miss any big news. But we're still a long way from this being resolved, and I think as this case goes further, we'll get some clarity, and you'll be able to make a better decision either when the case is decided or at least when we get closer to that point.